Emily, and welcome to the Onslow County Museum. Thank you for joining me again as we continue our in-depth discussion of the Woodland Indian period. So we're going to talk in particular about men's roles or their duties that they would have been doing in their tribe. So let's think a little bit before we get to talking about what men's roles were as our Woodland Indians. So we're going to date them. So we say they start about 1000 BC to about the 1500s AD. So the Woodland Indians are those group of people that our first European explorers would have been meeting. So John White, when he did those drawings and those watercolor paintings, the Woodland Indians, that's that group of people that he meets and interacts with. So those are the ones that we know the most about because of that information and because of archaeology. So a man's responsibility in Native American society is going to be a little bit different than what a woman or even a child's duties or responsibilities would have been. So within a Native American tribe, and tribes we kind of break down into their, kind of like their culture. So think about a tribe is a shared group of people that share the same language, so they speak the same language. They are in the same location, so geographically where they are, they're in that same general area. And then their dress, so what they're actually wearing. So all of these commonalities help define what a tribe is. And so you have this big tribe, that these people are all the same language, they wear the same dress, they're located in the same general area. And within that tribe, we have different clans. And these clans are broken down into family groups. So most of the clans are kind of all related to each other. They share a common ancestor. And the clans would be differentiated by their names. So this is where we see most clans have different names based off of animals or sometimes the elements in nature. So sometimes you may have a clan name that's a bear or the hawk clan. Or you might even have a clan that's called winter or fall. So it just depends on that group of people and what they prefer to be called. So within those clans, you have, again, responsibilities that each person is in charge of doing. So a man's responsibilities in the tribe, he is first and foremost a hunter. So we talked earlier in our introduction video, we talked about the bow and arrow and men going out and hunting. So that was one of the first responsibilities that a man had to do. So of course you can see we've got the bow here and we've got an arrow. So these are the tools that they're going to be using when they go off and go hunting. And again, they can still use their spear and the atlatl to hunt. But the bow and arrow is going to be that most favored tool to use when they go and hunt. So when they go and they hunt for a prey, let's say they get a deer, they're going to take that deer back to their village, back to their clan, and that's it. They're not going to be the ones to process the animal, process that meat. That's going to be someone else's responsibilities, and we'll talk about that later. Now the bow and arrow would also have been used for warring, so going to war with another tribe. So that was another responsibility or duty that men in the clan or tribes did, as they were soldiers. So if there was a war between another tribe, another nation, then the men went off to go fight in that war. And they would use the bow and arrow to go do that. Men were also craftspeople. They made a lot of things around their clan that they would use. So you can see behind me, we've got this image. And this is called a longhouse. So a longhouse is just that. It's a house and it's long. Thus the name, longhouse. Men were responsible for building these homes for their clan, for their family group. What you can see, these kind of pieces, we actually would call them bark mats, or sometimes reed mats. So they were made from the bark of a tree. just kind of ingenious if you think about it, right? So if we're thinking about building a home, you want to be protected from the elements. So they literally would take the bark off of a tree and lay it out flat to kind of create these squares or these mats that they would then just pile on top of each other and create the insulation for this house. And inside, they would be mostly made out of saplings or trees that they would then kind of bend over and bind together. And then that kind of U shape, upside down U, would then be covered with these bark mats to help provide the home for their family. The longhouse could fit anywhere from like 20 to 25 people that could fit inside a longhouse. I don't want to live with 20 people. Maybe you do, not me. But that would have been a normal thing for a Native American. So building a longhouse is something that men would have been responsible for. They also would have been building canoes. So we talked a little bit earlier about dugout canoes. Well, again, in Onslow County, so right here where we are, we have these two rivers. We have the New River and the White Oak River. The rivers are essential for providing food, so fishing. So again, fishing is something the men are going to be doing, whether it's using their spears to stake, right, or hopefully throw it and get a spear or a fish with their spear. They're going to be doing that. They're going to be using baskets and collecting all of these fish baskets with hopefully fish inside of them. But they're going to be using the canoes to help do that job and perform that job. So building canoes is something that men would have been responsible for as well. Now on the end of our arrow, we have the arrowhead. So making stone tools is something that men would have been responsible for as well. And that is what we call flint knapping. So flint knapping is a trade, it's a job. And flint knapping is basically where you take a piece of stone and you're flaking or chipping off chunks of stone in order to make tools. Whether it's an arrowhead, whether it's a stone tool that you would need to help scrape out the tree that you're trying to make this dugout canoe, whether it's something that you're using to grind up with, a knife. Knife you would use is like, think about a knife in your pocket. I know some maybe dads or granddads have pocket knives, right? So think about a knife that they would use for everyday daily uses. Anything that's sharp, they would have been made out of stone. That's flint knapping, and that's something that men, again, would have been responsible for. So everybody in the clan, in the tribe, each had their own duties and responsibilities to do, and that all of that helped contribute to the overall health and the running of the tribe and of the clan. So thank you so much for joining me today as we talked about men's duties and responsibilities. Be sure to check out the other videos where we talk more about what women's responsibilities would have been. And be sure to check out our other videos. Thanks and take care.